Good morning, Card Muni. It's RJ. Back with another video, so let's get to it. I'm going to dispense with the Mike Schmidt and random baseball items. Go right to the trivia because I got a lot to go over today, so I want to get right to that. So it is Memorial Day. Happy Memorial Day, everybody. Show off my cool new score flag PSA 10 card. Happy Memorial Day. I hope you guys have a chance to go out and do a little cookout, but never forget why you are having Memorial Day. Memorial Day is not necessarily to celebrate the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Coast Guard. It's not to support the veterans so much as it is to remember, to memorialize, to remember those people who have passed while serving in the military. So I thought it would be an interesting thing to talk about some of the players who never came home from their respective military thing. So first is the trivia. Today's trivia question, in keeping with the theme: Bob Feller, Stan Musial, and Yogi Berra all served during World War II in the same branch of the military. What branch was that? What you're playing for is a serial numbered card from Topps Museum Collection 2020 of Trevor Story. It's at numbered 40 out of 150. Hope you can see that. That's the prize up for grabs. If you could tell me that answer, send me an email with the correct answer. I will include my email in the description below, along with a repeat of that question. You will have today and tomorrow to answer, and we will pick a winner on Sunday, all right? So, again, happy Memorial Day, everybody. I'm going to put my flag down there in front of Trevor Story. Today, like I said, what I'm going to do is go over a list of those players who died while serving their country in the armed services. Now, several of these players were actually active. You know, they were in the middle of their career, but got taken away to serve and never came back. Some of them had brief stints in the majors, washed out, and might have been playing in the minors, but were certainly not in the majors. And a couple of them were long out of the game, but still got back in the service. So let's talk about them right now. There was one man there's one former player who died during the Korean War. That man is a guy named Bob Neighbors. I got my list right here. Bob Neighbors. He died in 1952 in Korea when his plane was shot down. He has a single card, if you want to find it. That's out of the 1995 Conlon collection. Okay? There were two players who died in during World War II. Only two active players were killed in action during World War II. One was a man named Harry O'Neill. He was killed during the attack on Iwo Jima. He has two cards in the 1925 Zenith, two variations. All right, if you want to try and find his cards. There is another man, Elmer Gideon, or Gideon. He died in 1944 when his plane was shot down over France. He has one card, but in five variations in a set called the TriStar OBAC set from 2011. So I'm not familiar with that particular set, but if you want to get, I looked it up. Apparently, TriStar OBAC had produced a couple of different sets during the mid-2000s, 09 and 10, 11, and so forth. He has one card, but in five variations, Mr. Gideon. So that is the extent of the players who died during service in World War II. There are actually 8 players who died during service in World War I. Okay, so some of these are people we've never heard of. A guy named Robert Bunn Troy died in 1918 while serving in France. He got shot, unfortunately. He appeared in a single game in 1912 for the major leagues. He has no cards. A man named Ralph Sharman died in 1918. He actually drowned, unfortunately, during a training exercise in Alabama. He has no cards since he only appeared in 13 games during the 1917 MLB campaign. And there's a man named Newt Halliday, died in 1917. He contracted tuberculosis while stationed in Illinois. He had a single at-bat in 1916, no cards. Perhaps the most famous player to have been killed in action pretty much in the middle of his career was a man named Eddie Grant. Eddie Grant spent 10 seasons in Major League Baseball. He died in action in France. He played 10 seasons in MLB, 4 of those with my Phillies. He has a total of 64 different cards, including a card in the T205 set. If you want to get a War Hero T205 card, look that up. He also has the Mecca Cigarettes double folder card. This is my reprint of that card that I got from Dave, Blue Jacket 66, and the Basement Find, so to speak. This is my reprint. This is Eddie Grant while he was with Cincinnati. On the front of the card, the fold over, is a guy named John McLean. That's that. McLean and Eddie Grant. So that is the lone card I have of a quote-unquote war hero, a guy who died in service. You know, if he's only been in 10 years, you could say he had more time to play baseball, but unfortunately he never came back from France. Continuing on, a guy named Harry Glenn died in 1918 while serving of pneumonia. He was stationed in Minnesota at the time. No cards, only played 6 games in 1915. Continuing on with those in World War II, a guy named Larry Chappell died of the Spanish flu in 1918 while stationed in San Francisco. If you ever remember back when we went through the COVID crisis a while ago, there was a lot of comparisons to the 1918 Spanish flu outbreak, which killed, several 100,000, maybe 1 million people across the globe. And unfortunately, there were a couple people on this list who died of the flu. So anyway, so Larry Chappell, he actually got into 109 games over 5 seasons from 1913 to 1917. He actually has 2 cards, one in the T213 coupon cigarette set, the other in the 1918 Zenith. So another player where you can find some cards of him. Then there's a man named Harry Chapman, died in 1918 of the Spanish flu while stationed in Nevada. Got into a total of 21 games in his career in the majors from 1912 to 1916. Has no cards. A man named Tom Burr, actually. He unfortunately got killed in a trading accident while he was in France. He played for a single game in the Yankees in 1914, and he has no cards at all. Interesting one. Here's a guy named Bill Stearns. Now, take a look at the year. He died in 1898. That was during the Spanish-American War. Says he became ill following the invasion of Puerto Rico. He appeared in a total of 84 games with 5 different teams over 5 years during the early life of the National Association. So he was, in the National Association. The precursor to the National League existed from 1971 through 1975, and Mr. Stearns appeared in every year of that existence of that league, but didn't make it over to the National League when it formed in 1876 and was out of baseball. Now, this was over 20 years before the Spanish-American War. So he was, mid-40s maybe, serving in the Spanish-American War. He has no cards, probably because of the early days of when he was active. They weren't making a lot of cards back in the early 1870s, so there are no cards of him. Now, I say there are two players from the Spanish-American War who have who died in service. One of those, though, was not quote unquote in the major leagues. It's an interesting thing I found. I want to show off a card here. Here's a card of a man named William Lambert. Now, this is a card from a Negro League set that I got. Everybody else should try and get it. It is from the 2020 Negro League Legends Remembered set of 180 cards of some of the Negro League greats and forgotten players. William Lambert. I'm going to turn the card over. I want you to take some time to read the back. I'm going to read it with you, but it's a fascinating story. William Lambert died in 1898 in Havana, Cuba, in the harbor, because he was on the USS Maine. If you know your history, the destruction of the USS Maine is what drew America into the Spanish-American War. Many people say that the U.S. purposely blew up its own ship while in Havana Harbor in order to, propagate outrage among the citizenry and draw us into war with Spain so we could get them out of the Western Hemisphere altogether. That was the report of some, but be that as it may, William Lambert on the USS Maine, fireman second class, Lambert, described as a master of speed, curves, and control, pitched the USS Maine's integrated team to an 18-3 victory in December of 1897 over the USS Marblehead to win the Navy's baseball title. Soon after, the Maine set sail from Key West, Florida, for Havana, arriving on January 25th, 1898. On the evening of February 15th, 1898, at 9:40 p.m., shortly after Marine Pfeiffer, or bugler, and third baseman C.H. Newton blew taps, the Maine exploded, killing 261 of the Maine's complement of 355. Lambert and all of his teammates, except landsman and R.F. John Bloomer, were killed. The explosion was fed by over 5 tons of black powder for the ship's guns. So, Mr. Lambert was on the USS Maine when it exploded back in 1898. So, in the fact that he was serving in the Navy at that time, also, in my mind, makes him a casualty of war, so to speak. And he was a Negro League player. I don't even know if he was actually a Negro League player. They make no mention of his service in the Negro Leagues. There were Negro professional leagues and certainly Negro teams barnstorming back at that time, just like there was, the moment baseball was created, there were Negro teams. And it doesn't speak of him being a part of that. Just talks about him being a part of the team from the USS Maine. But I think it's a cool little card to highlight, and another player who died in war. So that is the other card I have to show you. 2 cards I have of such players. I do not have any other cards of any of the other men I spoke of. But this is my tribute to baseball and Memorial Day. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please consider like, subscribing, commenting, and all that jazz. I really do appreciate it. Try my best to support everybody else in this great card community, all right? Don't forget the trivia question, and I'll see you again on Wednesday for more awesomeness, all right? Thanks for watching, and take care.